Elvis, during All-Star Weekend, Jaylen Brown was interviewed about what he wanted to do after the NBA, and he talked about getting into boxing. Now, there hasn't been a lot of success from athletes leaving their particular sport or retiring, going into boxing. What are your thoughts on that? And you and I know somebody who did have some success.
Yeah, our brother, a good friend, Alonzo Highsmith. What did Zoe go like 30-1 or 29-1? And he's the exception more than the rule. I mean, we've seen Too Tall Jones, but there have been some basketball players that could box. Darren Williams could box. Nate Robinson couldn't box. So
Kendall Gill could box too.
Kendall Gill can just fight. Period. He can fight, bro. Hey, whatever makes him happy. But the brother's so intelligent and speaks so eloquently. I mean, this is a smart brother. He went to Cal. Dumb people don't go to Cal. So at least as far as I know, that's one of the brightest schools in the nation. So as long as it makes him happy, I hope he finds something else because we need another mouthpiece for his generation. And unfortunately, just like with Colin Kaepernick, we have to depend on athletes rather than some of these so-called civic leaders to really speak the truth. That's what I hope Jaylen does.
Welcome to the Sports Brothers Show. I'm Branson Wright with
Delvis Valentine.
And we're going to talk about a few things today. First of all, we have a great guest, Chris Haynes from NBATV and NBA Prime. We're going to talk about the NBA All-Star Weekend, what worked, what didn't. Our good friend Joey Porter had a few things to say during Super Bowl week. And David Griffin, former GM of the Cavaliers, had an opinion about the Cavs run when he was GM and when LeBron was here. So, Delvis, let's start off with the All-Star Weekend. I don't know if you watched much of it. I'm sure you've heard quite a few things. For you, what worked and what didn't?
The game itself worked wonderfully. It's the best, most competitive game they've had in years. That worked. The dunk contest, just cancel it. You have four people that nobody knows, nobody's heard of. You don't have any star quality in the dunk contest. You don't have any real celebrities in the celebrity game. That they can get rid of that too.
Do you see any celebrities you knew out there?
Man, please. What I wish they would bring back is I remember years ago they had horse. And that could actually do better than the dunk contest. And for those who don't remember, when CBS had basketball, they used to have a segment called Red on Round Ball, which was Red Auerbach doing, explaining the game with a lot of the stars. But then they had a horse competition. They may have also done it on ABC where they played horse. And I think that's more challenging and you'll see more creativity and you'll get more stars to participate in horse than a dunk contest. Because, dude, and then the silliest thing I've heard was that, they were scared of Mac McClung. There's some brothers from the hood that can do what Mac McClung did. And guess what Mac McClung and them both have in common? Neither is in the NBA. And also, bro, talking about that, how did you not have Jalen Tyson, who's either one or two in three-point field goal percentage in the NBA? How can you not have him? But Damian Lillard, who actually won it, hadn't played a game all year. Come on, man.
Yeah, I didn't get that. Maybe it was part of Damian Lillard's rehab, and I would have definitely questioned that. I mean, the guy is trying to get back healthy. He hasn't played all year, and he's out there in the three-point shooting contest. But hey, but kudos to him for winning it. And fortunately, he didn't get hurt. But what worked for me definitely was the game. For those that don't know, it was round robin. You had the world team, and then you had a aging all-star team, and then you had the young guys all-stars that are coming up. And Ant-Man definitely had a great all-star weekend and won the MVP. But I'm hoping, even with doing this, that they can just go back to the old days, East and West. And it's just a matter of not these gimmicks. It's just a matter of these guys having some heart and willing to play hard for these games. Sure, there's a lot of money right now and there's a lot of risk, but there's a lot of risk in any and everything. But bringing the All-Star game back to the way it was, East versus West, I think would be a good thing if they played like it.
That's why I think that's why I wouldn't go back to it, because when we had East and West, they didn't play hard like they played. Like they had something to play for. You saw Victor Wembanyama actually upset that they lost. You have not seen anybody mad about losing in an All-Star game, probably ever. So I think this kind of, you know, it stirs the competitiveness that these guys have. And I think that's why, the East versus West is going to be some more 190 versus 190 to 186 games. But this was competitive, good basketball, and we saw the best players in the world.
Was it more of the incentive? I understand that the winning team got a certain amount of money. Was it the money incentive, or was it the fact that it was international and representing your country? What do you
That's
think it
what
was?
I think it was. I mean, you had the old NBA guys. It's like it's supposed to be no country for old men. So they had something to play for. And then the international, they supposed to be taking over, even though they got bounced by both of the American teams. And then you had the young guns. Hey, it's our turn now. The greatest driver for someone who's rich is pride. And that's what I think this did. The money they got money, but pride is something that you can't buy.
Do you think they should even tweak this a little more? I mean, when you got to the final quarter or the final game, it wasn't competitive at all because of the older players being tired. Is there any way to tweak this? Maybe add another team so there's four teams, and then have a single elimination. What are your thoughts?
I liked how they did it. It's just a matter of um, you got to keep bumping even when you're out of gas, and they didn't keep bumping, and that's why they lost. I just firmly believe that they hit on something. It may be some subtle tweaks, but I just think that the way they did it, because you're going to see more older players want to get involved, more of the younger players. I mean, far as getting involved, not getting chosen, but playing hard, and that's what we really missed. We missed playing hard. They didn't play hard. In the Rising Stars, they play hard, but in the NBA game, they didn't play hard. So they stumbled onto something. And as critical I am of the NBA and its stewardship, they hit a home run with this one, brother.
So we're going to go back to the Super Bowl. We didn't get a chance to talk about our guy Joey Porter, former linebacker for the Steelers. He had quite a few things to say.
Yeah, I mean, um, for those who don't know, Joey Porter was on Branson's dude. Cam Hayward is Branson's. I mean, off the
OH,
field, that,
OHIO.
that's his guy. And he was Joey Porter had said it actually started with James Harrison, who was very critical of Mike Tomlin, Coach Mike Tomlin, saying he wasn't a great coach, da 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 da. And a lot of the people, the people that hated Mike merely because he was a brother and he was successful. It's hard to coach that long with not one losing season. And they said, well, Cowher built a team for him. And all I do is challenge people. You look at the Steelers' record the year Cowher left and the year prior to that. Those were not Super Bowl teams. They weren't close to Super Bowl teams. They get Mike T, he hit that switch. It may be a different voice in their ears or something like that. But for James Harrison to be that critical of Mike T, was ridiculous. And Joey, told him, hey, Cowher cut you 3 times. Mike T kept you. Mike Tomlin gave you the name Debo. Bill Howard called you cut. So it's just a matter of, and people will say, well, he just coming to his friend's defense. Also know this. Mike Tomlin had fired Joey Porter as an assistant coach. And and also Joey talked about Roethlisberger. He confirmed a lot of the stuff we kind of suspected, that Ben wasn't a good guy. They covered for him on a lot of things. But me speaking personally, and I've had a few interactions with Ben Roethlisberger. He was always A1 with me, so I can't co-sign that. But I'm just seeing him out on the perimeter. This is someone that was in the locker room and in the battle with him. So the Steelers are having a civil war, and I couldn't be happier because I don't like the Steelers.
Hey, whenever there's change, there's always going to be some as you say, a civil war or some people with disagreement. Delvis, I don't see where Joey Porter lied. I mean, I'm not inside the locker room, but in terms of what he was saying, how Tomlin treated Harrison, and Harrison does owe his career to him. I mean, nobody's above criticism, and I'm not saying that, but I was really surprised the comments that Harrison made about somebody that contributed to his career. I like to hear more from Joey Porter. We always talk about athletes. We criticize them quite often for not speaking their mind and speaking on issues like this. So I'm definitely not criticizing Porter for that. So I'd like to hear more from him, and hopefully for Coach Tomlin, he'll get some rest and come back with another team in the near future.
Yeah, I wish it was the Cleveland Browns because this Todd Monken hire still stinks. But, bro, the one thing that um, I will say about it, final thing I'll probably say about it is the fact that people are complaining about podcasts. Here you have James Harrison. He has it with, one of our boys, Joe Hayden. They have the podcast. Cam Hayward he's a current player as of now with the Steelers. So you got all of these podcasts. And remember, we talked about this with Rob Parker.
Right, right.
Should current players have podcasts? Because usually they don't do well with the podcast. I mean, Paul, what's his name? Paul George had a podcast podcast, and then boom, he gets popped for something and is suspended 25 games. So I think that there's just too many podcasts in the atmosphere far as retired players, because everybody has something to say. But in this case, it was a current player, and we got some good information from Joey Porter, but there's probably other information that he would probably love to talk about. And I know you and Joey are boys. That's how I met him, through you. So.
Oh, got some Joey Porter stories, but that's for another day. It's for another day.
Great brother, though.
He is.
And I got to say this real quick. Joey Porter is such a good guy. I had my lady, and there was a few of us, and we were at XO's. And those who remember XO's in Cleveland, it was on the higher end of price steakhouses. And, the bill wasn't cheap. And I go to pull out my money. He looked at me like I was crazy. He said, man, I didn't ask you for no money. I said, okay. Thank you, brother. Can I contribute to the tip? He said, brother, did I ask you for any money? And we dapped and hugged.
Yeah, that sounds like some of those Barkley stories.
Absolutely.
That we'll use for another day. Another day. So David Griffin, former Cavs GM, had a few things to say in a recent interview. He talked about the Cavs during their run when they were going to all those consecutive finals with LeBron, that the East wasn't as competitive. He didn't use that words. What did he say?
Heck, I forgot.
It was like, well, basically he was saying it was trash.
Yeah,
Say
trash.
the East was basically trash. I disagree with the East being trash, but the Eastern Conference wasn't that good during that run. Either teams were aging or they were young and they were coming up. Um, I mean, to me, that doesn't take away what the Cavs did. You had to win. You had to play the game, but it certainly wasn't a as competitive conference as it had been in other years.
I would say this. I disagree with Griffin because mainly the Cavaliers had a juggernaut. They had a that if ever there was a team that really had no weaknesses, none. They didn't have any weaknesses other than if you really wanted to nitpick and say, well, they had Tristan Thompson starting at 6'9". Well, they had Timothy Mozgov at 7 foot that backed him up. So they had land sharks. You had Shumpert and J.R. Smith that came off the bench ready just to wreak havoc and chaos. Both of those guys, 6'5", 6'6", that could play, the wing, big guard, uh, and defensively. And then you had Kyrie Irving, who was the best ball handler. He's one of the best three I've ever seen, totally. So you had young Kyrie and you had prime LeBron. Bro, that was the reason why the East was so weak because when they played each other, it was competitive, but Cleveland was just so dominant. Because think about this when they played Golden State, they made Golden State go get Kevin Durant because if not, Cleveland would have dominated the NBA for probably 3 or 4 consecutive years. The Kevin Durant move is the move that they had to make because Cleveland came back to from 3-1 deficit, and people still crying about well, Draymond got suspended for a game. I said, what happened to the game after that? What happened about the game after that? They took, they came back, took game 7 in Golden State. So they just had a juggernaut. And I think Griffin, because if that were the case, Griffin has failed at every job he's had since then.
Wow.
He's failed at every job. The NBA ended up giving him Zion Williamson because he was the GM at he went to the
With the Pelicans.
No, but I mean the raffle, the lottery.
The lottery.
Yeah, with the draft lottery. He went to the draft lottery. They gave him number 1. He got Zion, and they still ended up not being a good team. So he just had the he was fortunate that he had such a dynamite team because tell you what, I bet you ain't nobody trying to hire David Griffin as a GM now. Him, Danny Ferry, Chris Grant, all of them on the bench. Ain't nobody hiring either.
So they all on the bench. Well, let me say this about the East. Even when LeBron was in Miami, they didn't have any competition. Who did they have to go through? Boston was old. Pierce and those guys were falling off.
But you got to remember this, though, B. They did have to get Ray Allen from Boston.
Yeah, they had to do that.
And that was and that's the one that cut Boston's legs off. That move right there. And I'm hoping to get Ray on the show real soon. But yeah, bro, so if you think about it, Boston, they were equal. But once Ray, because they were the first team with this so-called big 3.
Right. But they were, they were on their downstroke at that point.
But without
of their
Ray,
career.
But to think about it, if Boston would have kept on to Ray, and it was stupid. I forgot who they ended up keeping instead of Ray Allen. It was somebody, a French player, and it was like, you want him instead of him? Okay, fine. But I think that's what, but Boston was still up there then. But I mean, you had Atlanta. Atlanta, they were competitive.
No, they weren't. No,
they had Atlanta your boy. Come on, man. They had your boy Budenholzer. That's your boy. That's your boy, Budenholzer.
He ain't my boy. Hey,
NBA champ Budenholzer.
Real quick, let's we'll come back to that at another time. Let's go to our interview with Chris Haynes, former reporter at the Cleveland Plain Dealer. He's went on to bigger and better things. So I'm looking forward to talking to Chris and He'll be here in one moment. Welcome back to the Sports Brothers. We're with our guest, senior NBA insider for NBA on Prime and the association on NBA TV. Our guy, Delvis's guy, everybody's guy, Chris Haynes. How you doing?
Hey, y'all, my guys, man. I miss y'all, man. I miss y'all. I remember when I first moved out to Cleveland. That would have been what, 2014, man.
Right.
Y'all were some of the first brothers I reached out to, man. And y'all made my transition for me and my family, just with the advice and the recommendations y'all had throughout the city, man. Made me feel it just helped me. It definitely helped me get acclimated to that cold weather. I'm a West Coast dude, and it was brutal out there. But I appreciate y'all, brothers, man.
Hey, man, we appreciate you. And speaking of that, Chris, let's go back. Let's go back to the first time you and I met. Do you remember? Do you remember the first time we met?
It would have been NABJ, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Philadelphia, 2010.
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Precise. That brother's a bad man.
And then we had some good conversations because you was in a transition. I believe we were in Orlando. I think it was All-Star in Orlando.
Okay.
And we you were in your transition as far as your journalism career. Speak on that, because a lot of people don't know your journey. They think you just graduated from college and went right into this game, but definitely there was a journey to where you are now. Speak on that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you bring up NABJ Philly, so 2010. So the reason I graduated, I was like 27 or 28 when I graduated college. So I took that 10-year route.
Me too, bro. Me too.
I was going to school for a decade before kids are going to school for a decade now.
No NIL.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Free NIL. And so, no, I remember. So, my last semester of college, I took a journalism class. It was an African-American journalism class by the professor was Dr. Hassan Johnson. And I had to take that elective, a writing course, as a prerequisite to graduate in about 5 or 6 months. So I took that class, and, I played college ball, and I was getting good feedback. I love history. I love African-American history. I love telling those stories. So I was getting good feedback. And so I was like, man, how could, I like to still be a part of basketball somehow. So how can I translate to writing about basketball? And so that's kind of what started me on that journey to pursuing sports journalism. But I will say, so Mark Spears, who, that's our brother as well.
Correct.
He was one of the few people I reached out to who I knew in the journalism field. And he told me about NABJ. I'm like, what is that? He told me that was National Association of Black Journalists. Come out to the convention, see whatever. So I'm from Fresno, and specifically West Side Fresno. And that's the hood area of our city. And I've never really been outside of Fresno before that time. So I wasn't well cultured on, how Black people look and how they carry themselves in other parts of the country. And so when I went to NABJ, I went out there, and guys, I was blown away. I was blown away because I'm seeing, back home, it's acceptable to graduate from college at 30 years old and 28. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost the norm. You know what I'm saying? Like, it take us a while to get our stuff together. You know what I mean? You're going through things, personal things throughout your time. Take some time off, you work and whatever. So that was the norm. So when I went to NABJ, I see, first of all, everybody's looking good. Yes. Everybody got these suits on. The women look good. And everybody's professional. And I got these 22-year-old kids that I'm calling them at the time. They're coming up to me, introducing themselves, and I'm looking at their name tags, and it says ESPN on it, NBC on it, CBS. I'm like, how do y'all got these jobs at 22? You know what I mean? How are y'all there? And that was the first time it hit me, guys, that damn, people really do. Not just people, but Black people really can finish college in 4 years and then get straight to their dream job. And that was so foreign to me, guys. I didn't like the Bill Cosby show growing up because I didn't know anybody that lived like that. I didn't know that there were Black parents that went to college and their parents went to college, and it just created this cycle of education throughout the household. I didn't know Black people who lived like that. And so when I went to NABJ, it tripped me out. So guys, when I left, there was two things. I left NABJ more determined to pursue this field because here I am 28, 29, and I felt like I wasted the majority of my 20s. So I left more determined to land that gig. But number two, guys, I'm not lying, being honest, man. I told my wife, man, I came back crying. I came back crying because I felt like, damn, like I wasted a lot of my time. You know what I mean? Like I could, me and my, at that point, man, we were on welfare and all that, me and the family. Like I just felt like the way that I was living at the time was all I knew. And I felt like I wasted the majority of my 20s. And so I left determined, and long story short, probably about 6-7 months later, I got my gig covering the Portland Trailblazers.
Now getting your gig with the Trailblazers, that didn't come easy. Now, did you originally go to Portland to do that job, or did you go to Portland for some other reasons?
No, I went to Portland. So when I graduated, remember I took that class, and when I graduated, I was like, I had to convince the wife. I was like, babe, I want to trace this dream of becoming a NBA reporter. And wife basically gave me a little firm, what do you call it? Timeline where you give it. Guys, to be honest, she actually gave me the same timeline when we went to Cleveland. So
okay. Hey, we'll get to that.
All right. So it was like a couple years timeline she gave me, and she didn't want to go. And she said the Lord spoke to her that Portland, where we need to go, and there was a school there that she could attend as well. But I went there to cover the Blazers. So when I started sending out writing. Excuse me, rewind a little bit. I started sending out while I was in Fresno, sending out just some of my work, some of my writing. I would go home and watch NBA games, and I would write game recaps. So I started sending those out to different publications. Slam Magazine or Slam Online was one of the publications that reached out and said, "Hey, Chris, you have potential. You're a little raw. Well, actually, you're a lot of raw, but we can help you." And we can get you credentialed to games, but we can't pay you. But we can get you published, and we can work with you. Our editors can, help get you up to speed. But you need to be in the NBA market. And so I've never really left Fresno, outside of a little college stint in Sacramento. And so I was like, all right, I come from Little Fresno. Where am I going to go? Los Angeles is too big for me. Like I couldn't imagine it, couldn't fathom it. The Bay Area too big for me. I couldn't. It's just like I'm used to what I'm used to. And so Sacramento, I didn't want to go back there because I went to college there for a little bit. So we picked Portland, which is a 12-hour drive. And so I was like, I can pick Portland, and if things fail, it wouldn't be such of a hard transition getting back home. So I picked Portland. And so the plan was to work for Slam Magazine for free, just get me credentialed. And meanwhile, I had just graduated in kinesiology, physical education, to be a PT. And when they college, man, it was funny. When I was in college going for this degree at Fresno State, they were telling me about, when you first get there, man, it's going to be great. You're going to be a PE teacher. You could be a coach. You could do that. And then like the last semester upon graduation, they started to hit us with some truth bombs. Well, the PE field is kind of dwindling, and they're taking PE out of schools, and it's not looking good. So I was like, what? But I was like, man, I feel good about my chance. I'll make something happen. So I go to Portland, guys. There's nobody hiring. They are eliminating PE and a lot of these schools, which is unfortunate.
Now you have a family at this time, Chris, right?
I have a family. I have 3 daughters and 1 daughter on the way. My final daughter. She was our surprise baby. So yeah, I'm married with 3 kids and 1 on the way at the time.
Working for free.
Yeah, working for free. And so I had to expand my job approach. And the only job that I could find on time was security guard job at a high school. It was 40 minutes outside of Portland, Oregon. So I worked as a security guard at a high school and an apartment complex during the day. And then at night, I work at I cover Blazer home games. And so that whole year, just to condense it for you, that whole year, like it was an incredible year. Incredible year. I was raw. I learned a lot, but I quickly got the trust of the guys in the locker room, and they were giving me all this exclusive stuff to the point where, the local TV network that aired the Blazer games, which was called at the time Comcast Sportsnet Northwest, they started bringing me on occasionally to talk Blazers, because of the work I was doing, the exclusive scoops I was getting at the time. And I've never done TV before. And so I did that for a year. Security guard during the day, home games at night. Did that for a year. Then after a year, Comcast Sportsnet wanted to hire a beat reporter to cover the Blazers and travel to every Blazer game. And long story short, after a year, I ended up getting that.
Wow. See, and that's
amazing.
It's an incredible story of perseverance, and definitely people need to hear that. And after Portland, then what was your first opportunity after Portland?
So in Portland, guys, again, I'm from Fresno, and my whole thing growing up was if I had an apartment, a car, and a 9-to-5 job, I made it in life, because most of my partners were dead or in jail or just doing some shady work around town. And I just wanted to, I felt like I made it. So I had I had low standards. Wife definitely helped me, and she lived worse than I lived growing up. And she had visions of seeing the world and doing all these things. I'm like, where does that come from? Like, how can somebody come from where you come from and think so big? And so she really helped me and helped me in trying to revamp my mind to start thinking bigger, thinking outside of my norm. So when I'm in Portland, guys, I felt like I made it in life. I could do this again. You see the standards I had. I felt like I made it in life. I'm a beat writer for the Portland Trailblazers. You're like a local celebrity in Portland. You're on TV 3 times a week. I'm doing something that I love. I'm around basketball, establishing great relationships. But then, guys, this is what led to Cleveland. The GM at the time, which his name was Neil O'Shea, general manager Neil O'Shea. He came in probably like after 2 years of me being on the beat. And he's a different cat. And me and him would butt heads all the time. He actually cussed me out in front of players. And Batum and Aldridge, they'll still joke about seeing that go down. But he would not give scoops to local people for the most part. He was he always felt like if I'm a big time presence, I'm gonna give it to the national guys. And I would see how when national guys come to town, how teams will just roll out the red carpet for them. I would see them allow them to go in parts of the practice facility that the regular local media can't go to. And you just see the respect that they get. And they come to town and they end up giving them a great story with scoops galore. And I was like, I want that. So I'm doing good in Portland, but I'm in Portland. There's only so much you can accomplish. And Portland's not really on the radar on a national scale. Now, Damian Lillard did help with that. Damian Lillard did help me build more of a name when he came on, because I started breaking more news with his news. A lot of his news became national news. But guys, to become a national NBA reporter or NBA insider, I had to go to a beat, that next beat that gave me that notoriety. And when Cleveland came up, the Cleveland Plain Dealer, Branson would know they had let go of a lot of staff before I came there. And then LeBron James announced that he was returning to Cleveland. And so for me, I felt like that was the prime position in order for me to reach that national NBA reporter, NBA insider role. So I feel like that was a natural transition. So that's why I applied, and I ended up getting it. And, you know, it was LeBron James. It ended up being Kevin Love. They had Andrew Wiggins at first. They traded for Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving. And the guys so my wife gave me 2 years. She wanted to go back to California. She wanted to go back to California. She gave me 2 years. And it took me 2 years. After 2 years in Cleveland, I got the ESPN. I got the call from ESPN. Then I've been national ever since. So that 2016 to now. So that's 10 years now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. National NBA insider for 10 years now. So Cleveland was a learning point for me, because just for educational purposes of people that are going to serve as beat writers later down the road. And Portland is a different market. Portland, the Blazers are the only real professional team in town. Everybody loves the Blazers, meaning they want to know about players 1 through 15. And it's that unique. But when I went to Cleveland, I learned quickly. It's LeBron, Kevin Love, then Kyrie. Then go back to LeBron. Like, they don't really care. Like, you can't really write a story about Joe Harris at the time, or Brendan Haywood at the time, or, you know what I mean? Like, it's LeBron, whatever he says, LeBron. Like, there will be media availability in Portland. And sometimes LaMarcus Aldridge will talk, Brandon Roy will talk. And a lot of times nothing comes of it. Like, nothing of news noteworthy comes out of it. And you can, you don't have to write that day. Anytime LeBron talk, you write. It's in the paper. You're right. So you work. So it's just a different beat, a different region. And so it definitely prepared me. That Cleveland time prepared me. And I worked with some great editors over there that helped shape and mold me. Because, again, guys, I'm 3-4 years in, and I'm learning everything on the fly.
Right. And
that was a very invaluable learning experience for me going to Cleveland. And I left after they won the championship, came back from a 3-1 deficit.
Hey, Chris, because, brothers probably consider you real. In fact, I know they consider you real. I've been around you way too much. And Branson is the same way. Do you think because of how your path was the unconventional path helped you as far as developing relationships with players? Because they could talk woes, they could talk Sham, whatever his name is. They could talk all those other people. You the one, I don't know his name. They should call him Joe Blow, the lover man.
Okay, Chris, he was going there.
That's what I'm talking about.
But did that help you, because of your background, develop relationships? Because brothers, just like with LeBron, they talk about LeBron. The only 2 reporters I've seen have a personal conversation with LeBron are you and Branson. Nobody else. Everybody, Windhorst claims to be the expert. And I know more about LeBron, and I think I've had 2 conversations with him in 20-something years. So do you think because of your background, cats can trust you with the truth and know you will deliver the truth because you're not compromised?
Yeah, I definitely think it helped me. Like, I was real raw. And, you talk to Gary Washburn, if y'all ever get him on the show, ask him about my attire. Because remember, guys, I didn't have any money. So let me tell you this. So that Portland gig, that first Portland gig, the first year when I ended up working for free, then I ended up getting a gig, my salary was $33,000.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was $33,000 that first year covering the Blazers. So I didn't have the money, then I have 4 daughters and a wife. So I didn't have the money to dress appropriately. So I was rough and raw around the edges my first couple of years. And I bring that up to say, guys seen that, right? And at that time, again, I'm 29 then. So I'm still roughly around the age of a lot of these guys. Mm-hmm. But this is what I think definitely helped me. So I'm very observant, right? Where I come from, I'm always taught to observe, watch your surroundings, check people out. And so I remember, like, when they will open up before games, when they will open up the locker room, you guys know how pregame is. You open up the locker room, and a lot of times when you go in there, nobody's in there. And the reason why none of the players in there, because they know the times that the media is going to come in. And so they'll dip to the training room or they'll go somewhere else. And so that routine didn't quite catch on everywhere yet. So when I first came on, they let us in the locker room, and I would see media members, guys, they would go right up to a player at his locker stall. It didn't matter if the player was on his phone, if he was reading something, they'll go right up to him and stick a mic in their face and just start asking them questions.
Right.
And I would see the negative reaction that they would get. And the players, most of them will reluctantly talk, but that wasn't the right way to do it. And so I saw this, and then so I got to a point where I was like, okay, when I'm comfortable enough to go talk to a player, I'm gonna make sure hey man, what's up? I'm Chris Haynes, first year covering the league, blah, blah. We talking and rapping. And then we started talking and conversating about life and about kids, getting familiar with their families and blah, blah, blah. And then we start to see we got some of the same, similar circumstances of growing up. I just got to know them. And then when it got to the point, guys, where I needed something on record, they were more than willing to give me something. And to the point where they would give me stuff that I didn't ask for. And It was big, and it was big news type of content. And that was simply based off of the relationships that I had. But it all started off, guys, I'm telling you, I'm being real, like definitely me being authentic and me being a brother. I can't say that did not help, because I'm in Portland. I'm the only brother in the media market.
Okay.
So I'm going to stand out. But it's also important that you come at these players correctly, because they are human beings, right? So if you see them doing something, wait patiently till they're finished, on their phone, finish whatever. But don't just go right up to them and stick a mic in their face as if they owe you their time. They don't. And that's the one thing. That's one thing that I took away from that, and that's why I've been able to, establish relationships, because you have to get to know. You got to get to know individuals. I don't think enough people take the time to do that.
Chris, and that to me, that's one of the things that I've observed. It's like they treat the players, a lot of the majority media, they treat the players just like their property. They're not people. They're just there for the source of entertainment, and they treat them less than being a man or a human being. A lot of the young folks who are coming into the journalism profession, they see that. And then they see it, Stephen A. Smith. I don't know if you still work with him, but he's like James Brown said. He's that dull knife that just ain't cutting, talking loud and saying nothing. Yeah, I said it. It wasn't Chris. It was me. Chris knows how.
Chris, you see what I have to go through, bro?
I see, man.
Chris knows I'm lovingly on.
Stephen A. my guy. I was just talking with him a couple days ago, but I'll put that out there. Go ahead, Dale.
Yeah, but when the young folks see all they got to do is put a mic in somebody's face and yelling and screaming at them, treating them, and that's what he does often, treating them less than. How, when young folks ask you for advice, how is it that you're able to kind of steer them away from that and teaching them to be more relationship based, such as yourself and such as Branson?
Guys, I think social media has everything to do with the culture we live in, as far as holding people accountable and being. So, guys, all right, we're not around the same age, but I feel like foundationally we come from the same cloth of principles. And this is what I'm going to say. So social media became, I'm speaking specifically on Twitter, probably around 2009, maybe 8 was when it really started to become something that you had to have, especially as a journalist, right? And you remember when we were growing up, when we were younger, there were certain dudes you just didn't mess with.
Oh, yeah.
Because you knew they were about that life.
Yes.
And you knew if you said or do something that was detrimental, that there could be consequences, right?
Correct.
And you walk that fine line. Now, if you did do something that was detrimental You understood, okay, it might be time to go down. But that was something that was understood, right?
Right.
Social media has allowed any and everybody to say any and everything without consequences, right? So, you know, even think about like I live in the world that I live in, that I partake in. I will not say anything on social media that I wouldn't say to your face. And it has nothing to do with me being scared or intimidated by you. I just believe in treating people with respect. Now, if I don't like you and I feel the need to say I don't like you, I'm not going to tweet at you. I'm going to say that to you in person. And I've told multiple people that. I've told multiple players that in person, right? At least you're going to hear it from me.
Right.
But I just think, and the problem I have, Branson, Dale, with these people who operate in this world of say whatever you want to say on social media, is that I would expect the 30 and under crew, I'll expect them to behave like that because they grew up in social media.
Yes.
So this is all they know. It doesn't make it right, but this is all they know. But it's my generation and y'all like 35 plus, y'all know better. Y'all know better. Y'all, and I feel like this is the opportunity, like for them to say whatever they've been wanting to say because they couldn't do it growing up because they know they get their ass kicked. You know what I'm saying?
Correct.
Now, well, I can say what I say, and I ain't got, and because the same people that come at you, same with y'all, the same people that come up to, same people that tweet at y'all, all this disrespect, have they once ever said that in y'all face? I'm pretty sure they came up to you. Never. It wouldn't happen. It wouldn't happen. So that's, I think social media has a large, is a large factor in why people are not used to respecting people and don't know how to respect people. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't, I see a lot of I see a lot of aspiring beat reporters that want to get in the game. And I look at their social media content and their social media, them just talking trash on players. And I mean, not like critical of basketball, like saying some low down dirty stuff. And I'm like, you wonder why you're employed, wonder why these companies aren't bringing you on? Or do you look at your social media feed? Do you see what you're saying? You see how that's so out of pocket? You see how that, if they did hire you, how that could come up later in the future and probably get you fired? You know what I mean? So there's a proper way to conduct yourselves. And I just think that social media play a large factor in. And I think people don't even know how to have respect anymore. And that's sad.
That is, Chris. And it's, a lot of high school athletes that I've talked to about watching yourself as far as your social media. Don't use social media to put out your dirty laundry. You know, things that you would say to your homeboy or homegirl, they put it out there on social media like it's a secret, and it's not. And some things just don't need to be out there. Some things just need to be to yourself, and that's the message that needs to get out there.
For sure.
So Chris, I want to get to you're just coming back from All-Star Weekend out in Los Angeles. So tell me what worked All-Star Weekend and what didn't work.
What worked? Well, first of all, we had a great time at All-Star Weekend. It was very hectic. I had to host the NBA Foundation event where the NBA were giving out money to local entrepreneurs. A large part of them were minorities. Matter of fact, all of them were minorities. I'm sorry. All of them were minorities, young men, young women who are local entrepreneurs it was like it was a pitch competition. So myself and Kerry Champion hosted this event, and about 4 different entrepreneurs received $75,000, and the NBA is going to work with them throughout the year on trying to continue to help build their company. So I did that on Thursday. Friday, All-Star Rising Stars practice. I had to do interviews for that. And then I didn't have to go to the Rising Stars game, but I had to, Kenny Smith, he has his annual All-Star Weekend party on Friday nights. And so I went out there, and that's where I actually bumped into Stephen A. Me and him had a chat. A lot of people were there. Chris Rock, the list goes on and on. The who's of who, Anthony Anderson, whatever. The list goes on and on. Then from there, that same night, I went to Chris Paul's It was essentially a retirement party. That was Friday night, and it was a lot. It was a lot. So my whole day was filled up with NBA work, and then you have the parties at night. But these parties, I don't go for the parties. It's the networking.
Right.
Everybody's there. Rich Paul went to Rich Paul's party Saturday night. Probably half of the general managers in the NBA were there. Not gonna call out any names just in case they weren't supposed to be there. But you got half of the general managers that are there. You've got players, the Clutch Sports players, Anthony Davis and all them, Tristan, Chip Thompson, list goes on and on. And so then Sunday morning, we had an NBA media pickup game. And that was
you busted them up again, didn't you? I heard you be busting them up all the time.
Bill, come on, man, stop it, man. David McMenamin, who you guys know, spent time in Cleveland. He hosted that, and so we had a NBA media pickup game Sunday morning. From there, went to the arena for work, and so it was great. So that's what worked. What didn't work? I'll tell you what didn't work. You guys saw the All-Star game.
Right.
I voted for Kawhi Leonard. And I was one of two. And y'all know the other person. Y'all know the other person too that voted for Kawhi. Only 2 people voted for Kawhi. And the rest of the 10 voted for Anthony Edwards MVP. Mm-hmm. Joe Martin, who's in Cleveland still, he voted for Kawhi Leonard. And it was tough. I thought it was going to be a little closer. I knew it was going to be between Kawhi and Anthony Edwards. The format kind of messed me up as far as the voting goes, because essentially you're looking at these 4 quarters as different games. And so I kind of looked at it in its totality. I think Kawhi had 30-something in that third quarter. And so I looked at it from the totality of the whole game. And I usually don't give an MVP vote to a player on a losing team. But I was like, this format is a little bit kind of weird, and it's new, and plus Kawhi did it on his home court, so I was like, I'll give the edge to Kawhi, and I was surprised that Anthony Edwards got it, and to the point where Anthony Edwards came on our NBA TV set, right after he won, and I told him right there on air, I'm like, I'm sorry, I voted for Kawhi. He was like, shit, I thought everybody else was going to vote for Kawhi. I didn't feel so bad. That's what didn't work.
Hey, Chris, it's a time to pull the plug on the dunk contest. You can't get any stars in it.
I think we got to suspend it until we're able to get stars in. And if not, I don't know that it's worth it anymore. You know the saying, like, you don't know where it's going. What's the saying? Hold on, how you say it? You don't know what you got until it's gone.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I think we need to I think there needs to be a ground swelling of people craving the dunk contest again. I think we need to build that back up. And I think if we can build that back up, the ground swelling of support, then maybe players will fall into line as well. And I've talked to a number of NBA players, and most of them say, as early as this weekend, most of them say just increase the money. Get the money to 500,000, and you'll see the top stars doing it, right? It's unfortunate. It's all about money, but it is. I understand businessman. It is. But I'm going to tell you another thing, guys, not to harp on this again, but I think social media is a large factor in that as well. Guys, in the 80s, 90s, so when social media wasn't around, like, all of your blunders, they live on in social media. Social media is 24 hours.
Right.
7 days a week, 365. It's never off. All your blunders live on social media. You saw the kid, I forgot the player's name. He almost broke his neck trying to.
Oh, yeah. He fell. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, that's going to live on. That's going to live on. And not to say that should be a deterrent from guys participating, but a lot of guys don't want to go through that. Mental health, and for whatever issues they have, they don't want to go through that. And so the risk is higher than the reward for a lot of these guys. And that's why we're seeing got fringe NBA players. We're seeing young players and fringe NBA players enter because they have so much more to gain from it. So even if they end up being a meme, a negative meme, they'll be known more for that than anything else because they had a brief NBA spell. So I think that has a large part to do, but definitely increasing the money to make the reward at least closer to the risk. And I think that's what we do. But yeah, I think we need to suspend the dunk contest. Hey, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, guys. First time I'm saying this. That 3-point contest, like that has become the marquee event. It shouldn't be, but it has. But I'm telling you right now, Dame, Steph, they're talking behind the scenes. They're talking behind the scenes about next year's 3-point contest. And they're talking about getting guys like KD, Con Knipple, Devin Booker, somebody else. It was Klay Thompson. Like next year's 3-point contest has the potential to be the most epic ever when I'm talking about the field of guys. And the guys that they're talking about getting and bringing on for next season, I'm going to feel sorry for the actual 3-point shooters who actually had a good season. Because you remember how a 3-point contest used to be. It's like if you're having a good season that year, you'll get an invite. That most likely won't get you in next year because it probably will be only 2 spots available because you got these big stars who are great 3-point shooters: and Steph, Dame, KD, Klay, Con Knipple, Devin Booker. Like if they want in, they're in, and then there's going to be about 2 slots open. So that's the contest to look forward to next season. But the dunk contest, yeah, I think we need to suspend it until we can get some bigger names and higher profile players in.
Chris, we have a few more questions, and there was a lot of news that came out of All-Star, in particular expansion in Vegas and Seattle. So if that comes about, what team is likely to move east?
Memphis.
Makes sense.
Memphis. Yeah, that's the only other team that makes sense. It would be Memphis. Who are you thinking, B?
Well, I was thinking New Orleans because they were in the East at one time, and I remember telling Paul Silas when New Orleans moved back west, it kind of messed him up because he built the team as an Eastern team, more inside game, that type of thing. So that kind of messed Silas up as far as the way he did the team. But I could see Memphis. I could definitely see Memphis between those two for sure.
Yeah, that's a good one. I didn't think about New Orleans, and I haven't heard of New Orleans. Memphis was always the team I heard that would be moved over to the Eastern Conference. They're the furthest Western Conference team, to the East. So yeah, I think it'll be Memphis.
And I'd be remiss of not to ask you about the buzz about LeBron retirement this year, come back to Cleveland next year. What are you hearing? What do you think? What are some of the possibilities for LeBron James's future in the NBA?
Yeah, so I'm not hearing anything of real intel as far as what he's going to do next season. So I can't come on here and lie and say that. What do I think? I do think that Cleveland would be an option. I do think that. I think that would be a storybook ending. I do believe a player like LeBron James, and let me shout out Chris Paul. Chris Paul, that was some news that dropped over the weekend as well. He retired. Chris Paul's a really, really good friend of mine, and I hated to see him go out like that. I really wished a team could have picked him up so he could have ended his career the right way. But shout out and congratulations to Chris Paul and his family, 21 years in the league. Now he gets to concentrate on his family, and he got little Chris. Little Chris might be very well be in NBA next 5 years or so. Little Chris can play. He's being coached by a coach from my hometown of Fresno, Von Webb, who I played against in high school. And he's the head coach of Little Chris right now in LA. So shout out to Chris Paul. But I think somebody like LeBron James definitely deserves a farewell tour. I think it will be on an excellent platform if he were able to go back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. My question to you, Dale Branson, because you guys are right there. Would the fan base want that? Would the fan base embrace that with the team that they have right now?
Go ahead, Davis.
I think the fan base would accept it. I think the bigger problem would be the players.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be to have James Harden and Donovan Mitchell, who now they have people pretty much that are ancillary pieces that go around, because those two can go back and forth as far as who handles the ball. Now you have somebody else who has to have the ball in their hands a lot. I think that it would kind of cause a problem with the players more than the fans. I think the fans will be they'll be lining up for tickets.
I think for the players, they'll learn to accept it. I think Dan Gilbert will be really happy, cha-ching. and I think the fans will be ecstatic if LeBron James comes back. And as you said, it will be the storybook ending. Probably before the end of the year, they'll put the statue up front too. So I think it'll work out for everybody if he comes back. But they have to win also.
For sure. Chris, I want to ask you one last question from my end. It's finally coming out, even though teams have done it. We've seen the Knicks tank back when they got Patrick Ewing. We've seen San Antonio. They got they got Tim Duncan, and it was I think it was somebody else. They got back-to-back years. We've seen teams tank, but now it seems like particularly this year, because you have so much talent. I mean, this draft is deep, and I can tell it's a problem with the NBA because they're addressing it. What remedies can they have other than find teams, and will that be enough to discourage tanking?
Yeah, I don't think that would be enough. These NBA teams really value this draft. There's a lot of talent in this draft, and so this is it's interesting. So Adam Silver, he's fine. He found the Utah Jazz and the Indiana Pacers. And there could be more fines on other teams later down the road because it's not just those two teams. Right. Now, the reason why this season stands out more than other seasons because teams tank every season. Right? The NBA doesn't want to like to use the word tank, but the reason they fine Utah Jazz, it's when you tank, usually you sit your guys. They don't play the whole game, right? And then there's conflict with that, but that's usually what happens when you tank. You sit guys out for the rest of the season. That ankle injury becomes a real bad ankle injury that requires you to sit out like 3-4 months. You know what I'm saying? But what's going on? So Utah for a few games, they started their best players. They played them the first 3 quarters and didn't play them in the fourth quarter. And then when the game is tight and it calls for a timeout to draw up a play, the coaches let them play.
Oh, that's crazy. I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So Adam Silver addressed that. He said, we've seen some of these tactics before, but now it's becoming a point where teams are manipulating the game.
Right.
And that's what he was speaking to, right? When you're not playing your main players the final quarter, or you're not calling timeouts, like you're leaving the game with 2 or 3 timeouts left on your belt. You know what I mean? That's not a good look. So their team, and then this is happening before the All-Star break. Typically, this happens late March.
Right.
So it's more blatant and it's more obvious. And Del Branson, I don't know what the answer is. So I know in a recent competition committee, I got word that there was a suggestion thrown out there. And I was told this suggestion was quickly nah, that's not a good look. But I'm going to tell you guys, I want you guys' opinion on it. The suggestion was that at the end of the season, we take a number of the worst teams and they play in a tournament. So that team can be, it can be 5 teams, 4 teams. You play in a tournament that will dictate if you get the number 1 pick, number 2, number 3. So that was kind of a way of making guys, I don't know.
Yes, because what incentive does that give the current players? They're like, man, I'm ready for vacation season over, and you got to make me play to get somebody that might take my job.
That was the main thing, B. You asking guys to come and play hard so you can get a pick to replace me. And then you may just trade me. I helped you.
Right.
What am I getting in return?
Correct.
So that was the main issue with that. But that came up and that's a way of getting teams to play hard. But the other thing is that if they're the worst team, that means probably your best players haven't been playing. And so all of a sudden, do you ask your player who hasn't been playing the last month of the season to play in this tournament at the end? It wouldn't be a good look. But I just brought that up because that was one of the suggestions that came up in the competition committee on how they can kind of get past this tanking epidemic. I don't know what that answer is, guys.
Chris, the other issue is also the integrity of the game, especially that gambling is becoming more acceptable.
Yes.
So even if the gamblers or Vegas, if you will, is saying, wait a minute, you're tanking, you're not trying to win this game, and it can affect the odds. So you're just opening up more issues, I think.
Yeah, integrity of game, that's what Adam Silver is stressing right there. That's what's really getting on the NBA's nerves right there. We're talking about integrity of game, and we already hear people talking about games are fixed. You hear that commentary. The league hates that type of talk. And so when you have teams doing it so blatantly and doing it so early,
right.
That's just not a good look.
Hey, Chris, leave us with this. Delvis and I early in the show debated about David Griffin's comments about the East basically being trash when the Cavs made their run. I think the East wasn't good. And Delvis doesn't think he thinks Griffin was out of pocket by saying that. So what was your opinion on his comments?
I didn't hear that first of all. But he said the East was trash when he was GM of the Cavs when they're going through their run.
Right.
Trash is a strong word.
He didn't use trash. We're using that, but that's what he meant. Basically what he meant.
The conference was definitely inferior to the West.
Right.
I would say that. I think that during that time, the Atlanta Hawks were good. They were a great regular season team, and they will always flame out in the playoffs. Toronto Raptors were always a good team, and they were always flame out to LeBron. Right. It was always DeMar and Kyle Lowry there. Aside from those two teams, I mean, Indiana had a run for a little bit, but I'm thinking about David Griffin's time there. Yeah, they were an inferior. They definitely were an inferior team. I mean, inferior conference to the West. I agree with him there. I don't know the right wording he used, but yeah, the West was deeper.
He used the word that they were historically bad conference. It wasn't historically bad. That's what he used.
Yeah, no, they were inferior. I wouldn't call it the worst era of Eastern Conference basketball, but
right.
They couldn't. They weren't on par with the Western Conference.
Okay. Well, man, thank you so much for coming on our show, and we're gonna call you back to come on again.
Hey, y'all doing a phenomenal job, man. Y'all bringing on some great guests and you asking some really good questions that we don't get asked a lot. And so I appreciate that authenticity from you guys. And man, you guys are my brothers. I always love it when you guys are together. I hate when I hear Delv, because Delv is like Michael Jordan. He's like Michael Jordan and Tom Brady. He announces his retirement. We start crying. We tell him don't do it. But he comes back. I'm hoping he's here to stay this time, Brad.
Hey, Delvis, whose fault is it now?
It's Brance's fault. I was retired. I was just sitting up here looking at the grass grow, doing old man thing. Branson, and I told Branson, when them people get mad at you, because I haven't even been to a Cavs game this year. I said, make sure you say, hey, it's my fault. I talked him into it. I told him no 3 times. Brother persistent. Brother's persistent.
Hey, the fourth one was the charm, huh?
The fourth one was the charm. Yep, it was the charm. But Chris, I love you, man. You have no idea how proud I am of you personally, because we're boys. We just ain't, hey, like we're boys, man. I love you. And if there anybody else that you think wants to come and talk to the brothers, man, please send them our way.
I got y'all, brothers, man. Y'all take it easy, man. Always, likewise. Hopefully, see y'all soon. NABJ is in Atlanta.
Atlanta, we'll be there.
Okay.
Oh, I'll be there.
Okay. All right,
care.
brother. Appreciate you.
Take care.
All right, now.
All right. Thanks to our brother, our friend, our pal, Chris Haynes. I don't care. They can get this Shams dude. They can get Woj. They can get anybody. If I need to find out something that I don't know about the NBA, Chris is my number 1, 2, and 3 call.
Wait a minute. Did you say pal?
Who?
You just say our pal?
Yeah, because we may have some people that might go pal or pal. He's our pal, but he's our brother too. Notice I said that often.
Right.
Hey, Branson, with this upcoming weekend, what do you plan on watching?
I'm watching the gold medal game of Team USA hockey, women's hockey. I'm rooting for Layla Edwards. She's from Cleveland, Cleveland Heights, and she's gonna with the team. I'm looking for her to win the gold. As we know, she's the first Black woman to play on Team USA, first Black woman to play on Team USA Olympic team, and the first Black woman to score in hockey, in Olympic hockey. So we're rooting for her. She's had a great career. She's a senior at Wisconsin. She's won a couple titles there at Wisconsin. So what a great way to go out to in her amateur hockey career by winning a gold. So rooting on Layla. What about you, Delvis? What are you watching?
I'm going to have a Pam Grier film festival. I'm going to watch Friday Foster, Coffee, Sheba Baby, and Jackie Brown. That's what I'm doing this weekend.
Isn't that every weekend?
No, because I got too many movies. I got a bunch of them, but I'm dedicating this weekend to Pam Grier. Hoping we can get her on the show because she's one of one. I don't care. They can talk about anybody else. Pam Grier is one-on-one. So I dedicate this weekend to Pam Grier.
Oh, I'm also going to watch again Soul Power, the legend of the American Basketball Association. That's on Prime. It's about the history of the ABA. This is the 50-year anniversary of their last season. And man, I thought I knew things about the ABA, but they had a lot of good things to tell. So definitely going to check that out. And you should see it too, Delvis.
Yeah, you know, your boy Terry Pluto, the Dalai Lama of sports. He wrote a book. What was the name of that book? He wrote a book on the ABA, but I don't care if Terry Pluto, and I don't mind saying it in the general public. If he wrote a book about ABCs, I ain't reading it because it'd be scribbles.
Okay, well, that's a good time to come to the end of our show. We want to thank Chris Haynes, and we want to thank all of you that have watched. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like. And we just love the show and hope you love it too. Man, you're messing me up, man, because you had to go. See, these are the things we go through when the camera's not on. So you just got a little taste of it. Okay, yeah, take us out, man.
I do not like Terry Pluto, but you have been listening to the Sports Brothers, man.
Welcome to the family.
February the 17th was a day of the happy and the sad. Happy because on the 17th, it was Branson Wright's birthday. Happy birthday, my brother, along with Jim Brown and Michael Jordan's. But it was also sad because one of our favorite guests of all time, Reverend Jesse Jackson, passed after a lengthy illness. Bruh, he spilled some pearls of knowledge to us, and a lot of people complain about him, but nobody has walked in his shoes. He was the first. It's always harder to be the first than the next. So my condolences to the Jesse Jackson family, bruh. Nobody's filling those shoes.
Yeah, same to me. My condolences to the family, and we had the pleasure of interviewing him in 2016, in June of 2016, after Muhammad Ali passed, and the fact that he dropped some knowledge on us. And as you said in the interview back then, Delvis, the fact that many people don't know that Ali and Martin Luther King had a conversation in Louisville.
Yes.
So that was great of him to give us that knowledge. And I just appreciate that he found time for us to come on our show and give and grace us with his presence. Looking for the perfect way to unwind after work? Slide through to Charterhouse Grill for happy hour, Tuesday through Fridays, 4 to 7 p.m. Enjoy $4 off signature cocktails, top shelf liquor, appetizers, and all wine, plus $2 off all beer. Great drinks, great food, grown folk vibes. That's happy hour at Charterhouse Grill, 991 East 185th Street, Cleveland. Pull up, unwind, we'll take care of the rest.